Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down exactly how Argentina's incredibly fluid diamond formation completely dismantled Austria's high press, paving the way for Lionel Messi's historic, record-breaking achievements. We're going to dive right into the structural chess match that took place out there on the pitch, showing you how pure tactical intelligence set the stage for individual greatness.
So here's the big question that really defined the early tension of this match. How do you perfectly dismantle a chaotic high press on the world's biggest stage? Seriously, when a team comes flying at you with absolute maximum intensity right from the opening whistle, how on earth do you keep your composure? Well, today, we're going to see exactly how Argentina answered that. Here is our roadmap for The Explainer today. We'll start with Austria's aggressive high press, then look at Argentina's midfield diamond, touch on discipline and yellow cards, examine how to exploit the defensive block, and finally, wrap up with Messi's record-breaking brilliance. All right, Section 1, Austria's aggressive high press. Right off the bat, there was a stark contrast in how these two teams approached the game. On one side, Austria attempted to just overwhelm the match with pure, unadulterated intensity. I mean, their players were basically swarming the ball, applying this chaotic, ball-chasing high press to win it back the second they lost it. But on the other side, Argentina brought a totally calculated response. They set up in this incredibly fluid, possession-based 4-4-2 diamond formation. It was literally a classic clash of frantic energy going up against composed, rigid structure. And the fallout from that Austrian intensity was immediate. By rushing the ball so aggressively, Austria ended up creating a massive traffic jam right in the middle of the pitch. There was this huge concentration of Austrian players totally clogging the center. And, well, what does that mean for a smart, possession-heavy team like Argentina? It means the flanks were left completely, glaringly wide open. Argentina could just string together a couple of quick passes, effortlessly switch the play, and launch their attacks right through those massive empty spaces out wide. Moving on to Section 2, Argentina's midfield diamond. Now, this is where Argentina's tactical dominance really shines. Let's look at the mechanics of it. Alexis McAllister deliberately drops super deep, planting himself right between the two center backs. And that movement? That's the trigger. It allows Rodrigo de Paul to drag the Austrian holding midfielder all the way out to the sideline, while the right back moves inside to combine. This fluid rotation just effortlessly pulled the Austrian defenders way out of position, honestly making Argentina almost impossible to dispossess. With just a few quick central passes, they kept escaping the pressure and springing dangerous counterattacks. And when you have that kind of structural superiority, rapid breakthroughs are pretty much inevitable. Take this sequence for example. Enzo Fernandez, who was just brilliantly running the show from the left, spots this tiny corridor and instantly whips in a gorgeous line-breaking pass. It finds Lautaro Martinez, who gets immediately fouled by a completely disorganized Austrian backline. Now, yeah, Messi actually uncharacteristically missed the target on the resulting penalty, but that lightning-fast sequence proved beyond a doubt that Argentina's shape was already tearing Austria's aggressive press to shreds. Okay, Section 3, Discipline and Yellow Cards. 67. That is the total number of yellow cards Argentina has received at World Cups in the 21st century. And according to recent data, that's actually more than any other nation in this century. Given the emotions, the insane stakes, and all those fouls just outside the box in this match, you might hear that total volume and assume, wow, they must be the most aggressive, undisciplined team out there, right? Well, actually, scratch that, because context is absolutely everything. Sure, Argentina has the highest total volume, but that's largely because they go so deep into the tournament almost every single time, so they play way more matches. When you look at the averages, Ghana is historically the most heavily penalized team, averaging almost 3 cards per game. Argentina? They don't even crack the top 10 when you look at the per-game average. It's a really fantastic reminder that we always need to look past surface-level numbers to get the real story. Which brings us to Section 4, Exploiting the Defensive Block. So, realizing their high press was totally backfiring, Austria got a lot more cautious. They kept just 2 players pressing up top and retreated into this defensive mid-block, really just trying to plug up the center. This turned the midfield into a straight-up 3-versus-3 battle. But here's the catch. Their new defensive block completely lacked compactness. Because of these glaring gaps they left open, a single pass from Argentina's holding midfielder could easily slice right through 2 lines of defense and find teammates who were just eagerly lurking between the lines. Let's really slow this down and do a quick step-by-step forensic breakdown of how Austria's defense collapsed. First, the counterattack kicks off, and David Alaba correctly sprints back to protect his goal. But then, Werner, the attacking midfielder, totally loses Messi's run. I mean, first he loses him by 4 meters, then 5 meters. He just completely zones out. Meanwhile, Thiago Almada is charging into the penalty area, constantly scanning over his shoulder, looking for that second wave of attack. And then comes the masterpiece. Almada deliberately dummies the pass. He just lets it run right through his legs to a totally unmarked Messi who smashes it home first time. Just absolute brilliant awareness by Almada and a totally disastrous lapse by Werner. And, the sheer severity of Werner's mistake becomes glaringly obvious when you compare him to his teammate Sabitzer. Sabitzer was actually further away from his own goal when the move started, but he saw the danger immediately and sprinted back at over 30 kilometers per hour to try and save the play. Werner? He just kind of jogged and let Messi drift away. You literally cannot defend like that at a World Cup. You absolutely cannot lose track of runners during a counterattack, especially, when that runner happens to be Lionel Messi. And finally, Section 5, Messi's record-breaking brilliance. Even in the 94th minute, Argentina's hunger was just unbelievable. On a rapid transition break, they're still throwing multiple bodies forward. Messi uses his trademark close control, those short, rapid touches, to carry the ball up the pitch. But what's truly spectacular here isn't just the initial shot, it's the fact that he didn't switch off for even a millisecond. His relentless anticipation meant he was the absolute first player to react to his own rebound. He smashes it in, secures the brace, and officially cements himself as the all-time leading scorer in World Cup history. And this stat really highlights just how unique his legacy actually is. It's truly staggering. Out of his 18 total World Cup goals, exactly half of them, 9 goals, were completely unassisted. He literally just created them out of thin air. And the other 9? They were assisted by 9 completely different teammates. Think about that. Nobody has ever assisted Messi more than once at a World Cup. It just proves this insane level of self-reliance, adaptability, and pure individual genius that we have never seen before in the history of the sport. Which brings us to this absolutely mind-blowing number, 12 plus. Since turning 35 years old, Messi has scored more than 12 World Cup goals. Just let that sink in for a second. The guy is performing at his absolute peak, in his prime, at an age when most players have long since retired or gracefully stepped away from the international stage. This is a statistical plateau where he stands completely and utterly alone. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question to ponder. Given the sheer, undeniable statistical dominance we've just talked about, can anyone realistically break this record in the next century? Or, honestly, even the century after that? And when you look at how perfectly this Argentina squad is tactically structured around him, can they go all the way and lift another World Cup trophy? It is really hard to imagine we're ever going to see this seamless blend of flawless team tactics and pure individual genius again in our lifetimes. Thanks for joining me, and keep questioning the game.